What's happening, fam? L.A.R. movement still moving. Book is entitled Lessons from a Non-Custodial Father at Amazon, Kindle, and Create Space. A link will be in the description box below. As usual, go get it. PayPal link also there. They asked me to put it up. I put it up. This video is entitled, the Black Media Civil War. Social media has been replacing media over the past decade. And so social media has also been replacing, say, even networks and network television and network media and papers and propaganda, this, that, and the third. So what I'm saying is, when it comes to our community, you're seeing the old versus the new. You're seeing ideologies at odds with each other, because it's like the Wild Wild West. Like, we have to figure out who's actually the best, what is the best viewpoint for us as a community to have, because network television gave us a certain direction of what we had to talk about. So social media is completely different. So just because you can put together a piece and be like, oh, this is the whole black community, if you put together a piece now, just like that, somebody can upload something that is that's a differing opinion to what you put out. And I'm talking about this because of the situation that's going on with Roland Martin and Tariq, and him taking shots at people like Jason Black and stuff like that. And what I'm seeing is, people are starting to pay attention to the fact that, everybody wasn't comfortable with having a broad brush painted on the community. So now all of the people who felt like they was in positions of power, that were put up by networks, are really in competition with people who were maybe considered underground or niche market or just up and coming, right? So, our media is different because we cover different things. And to me, where it started, at least on YouTube, was that there have been plenty of black YouTubers who cover things that the media wouldn't. And to the point, to a degree, to the point where sometimes their material went viral enough for somebody else to pick up their story or their talking points. So over time, you got people who wind up, okay, well, their success is really predicated on people in social media's perspective. So now you're actually competing with the very people you were ripping off, but you didn't want to give any credit to. So now, just like you have an audience, they have an audience. So now it's a civil war of media, because the people who might have had the bigger platforms going against the people who had the smaller platforms, what you're seeing more so than not is the people with the smaller platforms have better ideas. So when you engage, when these bigger people engage with these smaller people, they wind up losing part of their constituency to these smaller individuals, because they make more sense than the bigger individuals. So now this competition is creating bad blood. And also, as far as like, what are people doing for the community? Well, the thing about it is, you got people in black media who are definitely more famous, but you have people who are smaller who actually might have helped more people, because the more famous people, they've had platforms and finances and fame for a long period of time, and even they may have business or institutions that they say help the community, but you don't see people from their platforms. They don't have any real life stories that I came from working under this person, or I came from this thing that they created, and this is the thing that springboarded me into a more successful life. But what you're seeing is people from smaller platforms having more life-changing effect on their constituents, if I should say. So when people are like, well, what are you doing for the community? They can actually literally give you names, and you can literally people can have stories. But these people with these bigger platforms, they have no names, no stories, and you can, in some ways, they may just be keeping it quiet. But the way it looks is like you're creating these shell companies and shell moments that are very empty, but they profit you, but not the community. So you might be doing a disservice to yourself to ask somebody else, what are they doing for the community, when you're not doing anything for the community. You get what I'm saying? So this is the thing about the black media civil war. Because also you have toxic media versus productive media, because a lot of the propaganda that's pushed about the black community, from networks to even some of your bigger media heads, they push a lot of toxic rhetoric and a lot of toxic points and a lot of toxic propaganda. And even some of the people we gravitate to are toxic because this is a message that we're accustomed to receiving through media. And what's going on is then you're seeing people who have a perspective that is the antithesis of this toxic behavior, and people are like slowly creeping over because what they're saying makes sense. What they're saying is less toxic. What they're saying is actually practical. What they're saying actually works. What they're saying is actually useful to your life, and what they're saying actually separates you from the dysfunction that you don't want to be a part of anymore. So in essence, it's a civil war. And even to the point where television is changing, network television is changing, to the point where people who were once in position to be, in these big conglomerate companies, these companies have to take a good look at the talent base that they're going to put on their conglomerate networks, because now the competition isn't so small. It isn't a niche market. It isn't necessarily a network of people that you get plugged into, that they can push you right to these people who might be looking for someone like you. Now it's more so a situation where everybody's putting their social media, their media resume out at their own will. So now you might have somebody with a bigger name, but they may not be better than this person with a smaller name. And word gets around very quickly in these digital streets, right? No matter how big or how small somebody is, because people can make noise just by the material that they create. And you start seeing this over and over and over again. And to me, at the end of the day, what this is about is what everything's about in America: money. Because the old media machine is dying out. And it's dying out because it's not financially viable. It's not as lucrative as it once was. And the new social media machine is more lucrative and cheaper to produce. So now you're in a situation where this is kind of like social media mixtape era, where if somebody blows up in social media, they may be on media, because you've seen a lot of people, even from YouTube, who all of a sudden wind up on television networks and television shows, and you trying to wonder why. How come this person wind up on a show, but these people here never wind up on the show? It's because, they're differing opinions. But the problem started to become where a lot of the people that they got from the internet to go on black media in particular didn't look like they were rap too tight. So now when you're looking at and there were times where black people introduced these people to the world that weren't rap too tight. So now you're looking at, okay, so all of them are like this? No. And then you go looking at people's material and you start realizing, wait a minute. What you see is the manipulative networking behind the scenes in social media, but it's like present. Like you can actually put two and two together. It's not behind closed doors. You can start to see how people are making moves to purposely bring certain type of people in and purposely shut certain type of people out. But the problem is you can't shut out people's growing subscriber base. People. It's like the Jordan rules. People are doing things to contain it, but they can't stop it. And the problem ultimately is they can't contain it for much longer, because the new black social media is probably the wave that not only the youth but even the elderly are more so in tune with. Because when they start talking, it starts perking up. Your ears start perking up. So that's all I got to say about that. We out. Peace.